Welcome to the Higher Love with Megan podcast with me, your host, Megan Cooper, a trauma-informed therapist, life coach and disruptor of wellness norms based in Brighton, UK. This isn't another nice-to-have wellness podcast. Instead, this podcast seeks to redefine what it means to be well in today's world. Here, we challenge the status quo, seek to reunite wellness with social justice and improve accessibility, diversity and inclusivity within wellness and beyond. As a listener, you are not here to passively consume. Instead, you are an ambassador for real, embodied, societal and systemic change in the world. As your host, I stand for radical self-inquiry and being able to have those confronting but necessary conversations so that we can remember our collective humanity at this time. We're here for the revolution and you've got a front row seat. Welcome listeners to this special edition of the Higher Love with Megan podcast, where we look back at podcasts past and present as we draw this year to a close. And wow, what a year it's been. When I flicked through episodes in preparation of recording this today, I could scarcely believe how many fantastic guests and brilliant conversations I've had the pleasure of hosting this year. When I relaunched my podcast 18 months ago, I did it with the intention of hosting the conversations that I felt were most missing from the wellbeing space. I wanted to take my listeners on the journey with me and provide a space where we could continue to learn, unlearn and grow together. So in many ways, I don't see this as my podcast, but as a collaboration, a symbiotic co-creation of guest, host, production and listener. In the words of Zach Polanski, it's all of us, an embodiment of our shared collective humanity around the topics and themes that so many of us see as crucial at this time for our shared collective path forwards. Last night, I also looked at my end of year stats and I was blown away. The podcast has a 248% increase in total audience, a 999% increase in new audience, a 241% increase in listening time. We're in the top 10% of videos watched on that platform that we're all attempting to boycott. You, the listeners, have tuned into this show for longer than 92% of other shows. You, the listeners, have contributed more comments than 95% of other shows. And you, the listeners, have shared these conversations more than 97% of other shows. What this demonstrates to me is how hungry we are, as an industry, as a community, and as a wider society for change. At a time when despair can feel all too close, I see this as a reminder of our commitment to standing together, to learning how to be in better relationship, allyship and solidarity with one another, with issues at home and abroad which demand that we speak truth to power and liberate ourselves to use our voices and take radical action towards, to meet the times through which we are living. So, I thank each and every single one of you for being a part of that. Something beautiful that continues to come from these episodes is friendship and community, where people come out of their on-screen 2D form into the 3D. I recently attended the book launch of former head teacher and executive coach Viv Grant, whom I hosted on the podcast back in January for the episode Beyond Grades, Cultivating a Human Education. It was such an honour to sit in that room full of people whose lives have been touched by Viv and her work, and to get to meet her in person. I'm also coming to the end of my first round of Wellness Warriors 101, my introductory group space for wellbeing practitioners seeking to prioritise accessibility, diversity, inclusion, social justice and solidarity in their businesses. I was delighted to have Siobhan Strode, Sumi Fitzgerald, Kerry Jarvis, Ilian Morrison and Kaya Allen Bevan feature for guest workshops on the course, all of whom I hosted here first on the podcast. My point here is, being in conversation with each other can translate into wider collaboration and connection. And this is really an encouragement to you as listeners to continue to build community in ways that feel available and meaningful to you. To take online connections into our physical reality where possible, to join local groups and get together with people whom share your values. A big theme of the podcast has, of course, been how we redefine being well in an unwell world, a theme that I explored with a solo episode of that same title. And in so many conversations, such as with yoga teacher Donna Noble, founder of Amphi Botanicals Yasmin Jabri, Palestinian spaceholder and guide Dina Ghandour, practitioner Charles Myssey, and in my latest episode with Palestinian healer Ashira Darwish. Let's hear now from Dina and Charles.
A lot of practitioners, want to keep their page separate from political work. We don't want to introduce anything that's going to not make people feel good. God forbid they mention the word genocide and lose followers and sponsorships and lose business and lose deals. I think at the beginning, we were all tiptoeing around it, being like my peers and these celeb wellness people. Oh, are they really not saying anything? Maybe they're saying something in person. Let's give people the benefit of the doubt. And I think 6 months in, we were all like, no, this is not okay. So I think the silence for me was massive. That's what I still can't digest. You didn't even have to create your own story. You didn't even have to get creative. All you had to do was share a post onto your story. One post. I'm just asking for one post. Like you just found it really surprising because these are the people that talk about how to be good humans, the practices and principles and the ethics and ways of being that have been taught in these sacred philosophical texts for thousands of years. But then when it came to the time and to putting it into practice, I was just really, really shocked. I was really shocked. Children are dying. People are dying. Please come down to this 3D reality that you were born into karmically. Okay, so let's go. Let's put our shoes on.
This type of belief that really shadowy things happening in the world and we just have to be in the energy of love. And if we express any kind of contempt or anger or rejection or rage towards it, then it is feeding it in some way. I honestly think it is just pure fucking rubbish. It is absolute fucking rubbish. If I'm on the street and someone, let's say it's a lady, she's getting punched in the face by a couple of men, I am not going to stand there and be in the energy of love to stop it. I think it is completely delusional. I think people that adopt this type of belief are completely disconnected from their full potential, which is the integration of the part that is okay with confrontation and being judged because they've been taught in spiritual communities that these emotions they have are wrong and low vibe. And I've had a lot of conversations with people during this time. Good people. They could not connect and see how it was okay to feel these feelings that compel us to act, compel us to do something, compel us to say something.
If I was in a position where bombs were raining down on me and my kids every single day, if people were just saying, oh, we're praying for you, I'd be like, can you do something else, please? Make it fucking end. So for me, the highest iteration of spirituality in that situation is to say what is happening is wrong. And we need to come together to make it end. I've been enlivened by hearing more people having these types of conversations across wellbeing and spiritual spaces. Still not the landslide yet by any means, but certainly a shift. And let's keep that conversation going and expanding. It comes as no surprise that my episode Let's Make Moral Clarity the Vibe with Misan Harriman was your most listened to show. I don't always listen back to my own episodes, but this one I've listened to multiple times, and every time I have found new richness and solace in the words. Let's take a little listen together. What's been your experience of these protests?
You're bathing in humanity, right? It's a great blueprint of what this nation can be. Every creed of person, every religion, every age group, people in wheelchairs and other disabilities. I love this image I took of this visually impaired man with his walking stick, and he was still doing the thing. And I was like, fuck, this is nirvana. This is it. This is us at our best.
Yeah.
I'm so honored to be able to photograph them in the way that I have done, because it's proof. There will be a testament of what we tried to do during this time. I know the importance of bearing witness. I don't want you to just look at my images. I want you to feel them. I believe people feel my images rather than see them. Right? And that you can't manipulate. I can't force you to feel whatever you feel when you look at a picture that I've just observed on the streets of London. And that's the power of it all, and also the resistance of it all. These images are a serious act of resistance.
What do you feel you have welcomed into your life as a result of being in this movement?
Well, there is no pillow as soft as a clear conscience, right? So the weight of apathy is unbearable to me. It would have killed me. The crime of silence would have haunted me. It would have been the ghost that walks with me as I leave my front door every day. I bear the scars of what it means to reshape the world, but the world that's coming is designed by us. We are the change that we want to see. It's very rare to live through a time where you can be part of systemic change across a globe that is eating itself. And you are the medicine to this gaping wound of the planet. If you want to sleepwalk yourself towards oblivion, that's your choice. But I'm part of this new tribe that has a tool set to build a new house.
I mean, where do we even go from there? Of course, the genocide in Palestine has been a central conversation on this podcast, both in the devastation that has ripped through Gaza and occupied territories, and what it has shone a light on within the wider systems of harm at play in our world. Western imperialism, hypercapitalism, the military-industrial complex, white supremacy, racism, not to even mention the climate crisis. For so many, Palestine, at a huge cost and sacrifice to Palestinians, has woken so many people up to the insidious horrors and systems of harm in our world, in which we are all inextricably intertwined. For so many of us, it has changed us forever. We've moved through varying degrees of horror, grief, and rage, but we have found each other along the way. Let's tune in with the conversations that I had with Dr Mo Mustafa, Beast from the Middle East, and also with Brister and Georgia Takacs, co-founders of All Our Relations organisation.
I remember when we had the night the ceasefire broke and I was there. We were working on the streets. I remember being just overwhelmed. We saw so many people dead. I remember hearing a voice, and it was a doctor, and he was literally in his pajamas, and he said, and he was like, "Don't worry, doctor, we're here." And I looked up, and these doctors came in the middle of the night, walking, running to the hospital during a mass casualty event. And they came there to help because they knew that we'd be overwhelmed. They knew that we were understaffed, and they came to help. I was just thinking to myself, like, their home could get bombed. They could lose their entire family. Do they not want to be there for them? They're going out in the middle of the streets when drones are circling low, shooting at people, and they're there. They're risking it all to come to help us, and they know that they're walking into a low-resourced environment. We don't have much medical equipment, but they're still willing to risk it all to come in and provide whatever little help that they can. A year and 9 months into the war, and they're still doing this. That, to me, is what makes it remarkable. It's when you get into the back of ambulances and you meet these paramedics, these Red Crescent workers. These people are literally driving into the firing line, being executed sometimes, being blown up. And it's things like this where you just think to yourself, wow, these are the bravest human beings. These are the most selfless human beings. And if you were to ask them, why are you so brave? They'll just tell you, we're just helping the people. We're not doing anything. We wish we could do more. That's usually what they say is, I wish we could do more. They're something else.
The very idea that we are not all interconnected as human beings is a lie. And we see it in Palestine because they are the front line of resistance. And we see if we tolerate what is happening in Gaza, then it's game over for all of us. The very idea that any of our careers matter is a joke. At the expense of what? In about 5 years, you're not going to have a career, babe, if we don't do something. If you think in 5 years' time, we're not all going to be completely fucked, you're mad. So get on board, get shouting, get campaigning, get moving. Because we need to get uncomfortable, but find this incredible community of people, the best human beings, because they will go out and make themselves uncomfortable. They will take risks. They will lose work. They will stand up for what is right. But we need people to start jumping on. And it's never too late. Some people have said to me, I feel like if I come on now, it's just going to be embarrassing because everyone's going to go, well, where were you? I'm like, fuck those people. You're welcome. Join us anytime, because we're all going to have to get together very soon. Switch on the news if you're unclear.
Yeah.
In
August of this year, I flew out at short notice to Barcelona to support a friend on the comms team of the global Freedom Flotilla with events and communication. In August of this year, I flew out at short notice to Barcelona to support a friend on the comms team of the Global Samud Flotilla with events and communications as boats set sail for Gaza. What we witnessed was a real feat of humanity, where people from all backgrounds, ages, race, religion, nationalities came together in a short space of time, united by shared vision and values, and a collective endeavour to break the siege of Gaza and open a humanitarian corridor for aid. Upon their return from events that took place, I caught up with Palestinian European journalist and commentator Kieran Andrieu from Navarra Media, whom I met out in Spain. It was incredibly emotional for me just watching you guys all leaving. The whole vibe was electric. I'm curious how it was for you being on the boats at departure.
Well, it was deeply emotional for me as well. And particularly two women stick in my mind with tears completely strewn down their cheeks. It was like they were crying for Gaza. They were crying for the Palestinians and for this shared endeavour that we're all part of, this cluster of humanity that was all brought together. Because we've all been watching this extermination of an entire people playing out with high definition clarity as never before. We've always imbibed this mythos around genocide, that the world is different now, and that we would always act to then run into a period of extreme extermination. And that's a deep psychic scar for everybody. And so as we were marching through tens of thousands of crying, singing people, perfect strangers were like kin to us. We were kindred because of this sorrow, this heartbreak, this humanity.
The struggle for liberation becoming much bigger within the mainstream than it was for you growing up. How's that experience been for you?
A brilliant question. There is scarcely a street that I can walk down now that doesn't have somewhere adorned a Palestinian flag or a sign or a watermelon or something signifying solidarity with my dad's people. That's an immense tectonic shift from where I was and from where the world was when I was growing up. When I was a kid, I would go with my mum to demonstrations in Hyde Park, so about 2001, 2002. You might get 5,000 people. Jump forward to 2023 and beyond, like to have 1 million people turning out, or 500,000 people, is absolutely unthinkable when I was younger. Now, it's true that Palestinians who live in Palestine, including my own family, facts on the ground for them have continued to get worse and worse and worse. There's an inverse correlation. But I know, at least for my family, that it means a great deal to them, that we're no longer invisible. They exist. We exist. We exist in people's consciousness. We exist in their hearts.
And how could we have any recap of episodes surrounding Palestine and the Palestinian fight for liberation without mentioning Palestinian Antoine Rafoul, Nakba survivor and father to my dear friend Yasmin, who I met, lo and behold, on Instagram, another internet friend turned in real life friend, who I've had the pleasure of marching, screaming, shouting, crying and laughing alongside this past year. Antoine, how is it for you having such a fierce advocate as a daughter?
A big problem. No, I'm proud.
Yasmin, I just want to ask, what is it like for you to be the daughter of a Palestinian?
Pride doesn't even begin to describe it. How lucky I am to be able to continue the story. Did I ever think I'd be the social media manager of my dad's Instagram account? But what a wonderful way of telling a story. How Lana does that for her Jiddo's story and the history of Palestine remains to be seen, right? But I look forward to that day. But it's only because we've continued this trajectory and we continue the line of the story.
Hopefully Lana's story will be a happy one.
I hope, inshallah.
Antoine is currently filming alongside national treasure and Holocaust survivor Stephen Kapos for the documentary film The Last Survivors, directed by Stephen's daughter Andrea, who runs Think, Make, Create production company. Andrea is recording and telling the stories of Antoine and Stephen's lives, both survivors of unspeakable horrors, and as Stephen says, more importantly, both survived architecture. after both synchronistically spending their careers as architects. After meeting Andrea earlier this year through Yasmin, I was delighted to host Andrea and Stephen as a follow-up episode, despite the gravity of topics discussed. We also got to have a laugh, starting our conversation with Stephen reminding me that people keep introducing him incorrectly as 87 years old and not the correct 88 years old. So without any further ado, let's hear from 88-year-old Stephen Kapos. Stephen, I just wanted to ask you, how is it for you to become a celebrity in your late 80s?
I haven't got used to it, and I don't think I will be able to get used to it. But the reaction I get from individuals or organizations, invariably very warm. That's very nice.
I think for me, it's just incredibly inspiring. I think seeing how important his voice is and who he is at this time in history, at this moment for everybody, and seeing how vital that is. You know, seeing him on stage at Wembley, I was absolutely literally bursting with pride. It's just extraordinary. It's also, I mean, what a pleasure to be able to have at this point in my life and in my dad's life for us to have this thing together. It's not lost on me that this is actually like a really, really precious moment. Yeah.
There is certainly life after 80.
You need to start your own. Of course, laughter and levity is essential in the times through which we are living. And who better to do that with than political commentator Marina Purkis from the Trull podcast alongside Gemma Fort. When Marina asked me what I wanted to discuss on the podcast, I confessed that I think I mainly just wanted to hang out with her and hear about her life. I imagine that you get a lot of challenging, shitty, nasty comments. How do you deal with that on the daily?
Just don't look at the replies, especially on X, because for me, it is my largest platform. I sort of grenade and go. I just tweet and go, post and go. I try and remind myself that while the internet has, been good for so many things, it's also empowered a whole world of people who would never dare come up to you.
Yeah.
If they saw me in the street, they wouldn't dare, but they are emboldened, they are empowered, they are emboldened to be mean, nasty.
Some of the things that have been said to me as I've started to be more vocal, where men have said to me, oh, you're just being divisive. And I'm like, hang on, if my husband said that, would you say that to him? And my husband was like, you're not difficult, you're passionate. And other men get very intimidated by that.
All right, okay, I'm glad you said that, because I think that is a thing. I do think it takes a certain type of man to be with a like women like us that are like very opinionated, and we're going to make sure like we're heard. And I think for a lot of men who are happy with the status quo and patriarchy, that is not going to sit well with them. It possibly goes back to why a lot of men don't want the status quo to change, because it works very nicely for them. I'm never going to want to be with a person that doesn't want me to speak out. And as for the guys who do come on to social saying like, oh, pipe down, love, get back in the kitchen, I feel sorry for you. I feel like, well done on your little dopamine hit.
My episodes with Yasmin and Antoine, Stephen and Andrea and Marina illuminated to me that something that I love the most is hearing about the person behind what you see. Perhaps that's my therapist, coach hat on, but I love hearing about how people are surviving these times, what challenges them, what inspires them, what brings them hope, remembering that we are all human in these experiences and all in this together. It's something I brought into my recent episode with Khaled Abdullah, hearing about what this year has been like for him as a visible vocal actor and creator in the public eye, voice of solidarity and campaigner for change. Raw and honest conversations with ordinary humans partaking often in extraordinary things, all learning as we go along, all trying to turn the ship around, to find hope in dark places, to build bridges across our differences, and find our shared collective humanity in a society hell-bent on dividing us. This podcast has changed me. The person who I am recording this today is made up of a little bit of every guest that has featured, of every single person that I have met so far in this journey. There is still so much to do, but I'm here for it, as I know you are, embracing the imperfection, flaws, and messiness along the way as we go. I could honestly do an individual episode about every single person that I have hosted on this podcast. A huge thank you to Tony Crow, Tamu Thomas, Viv Grant, Georgie Edwards, Sally Burns, Lara Sheldrake, Jen Brister, Georgia Takacs, Sumi Fitzgerald, Donna Noble, Dina Ghandour, Yasmin Jabri, Asma Shuwake, Paris Abbas, Misan Harriman, Fernando de Veras, Kevin Smith, Amna Abdulatif, Dr Mo Mustafa, Olive Gray from Save the Children, Ilian Morrison, Mary Mason from the Global Samud Flotilla UK delegation, Mani, an anonymous activist who's currently volunteering in occupied Palestine, Yasmin Say, Antoine Rafoul, Charles Myssey, Kaya Allen Bevan, Kieran Andrieu, Marina Perkis, Stephen and Andrea Kapos, Khalid Abdullah, and Ashira Darwish. What a list! Also a huge shout out to my podcast producer and editor extraordinaire, Lucy Lucraft, who has made these conversations what they are, has put up with my appalling tech skills and at best mediocre organisation, and has been a continual guide, cheerleader and dear friend over this past year. Lucy is testament to me saying that behind all podcasts should be a feisty Arab woman. I adore you, Lucy, just as I do all of you, the listeners, the subscribers, the sharers, the audience turned friends, and friends turned family over the past year. Wishing you all a restful break this festive season, full of joys and complexity of our unique and collective experiences at this time. A time to reflect and recharge for the year ahead, because let's face it, we're going to need it. Hold on to your seats, strap on your seatbelts for 2026, and in the meantime, Merry Christmas to you, to your families, and a very happy New Year. Big love. Thank you for listening. It's great to have you with me on this journey towards higher love for all. Our time is our greatest commodity and gift, so thanks for investing it in yourself and sharing it with me. Please do take a moment to rate and review the show, all of which enables more people to find me and for me to connect with more great guests each week for both yours and my enjoyment. All links, references and contact information is detailed too within the show notes. And I always love to hear your feedback, so feel free to hit me up on my Instagram at higherlove_with_Megan or via my website higher-love.com. Send your takeaways, and if you enjoyed this episode, please share or send on to someone else who would benefit. Until next time, big love.